Finally, House Resolution 588, the Democratic Republic of the Congo has suspended exit permits for Congolese children adopted by foreign parents, affecting hundreds of families. And at this time, I would just like to briefly recognize the families that are here today from across the United States who have been impacted by the actions of the Congolese government. We're going to ask them to stand for a minute, those who are here, the families, if you would. And I want them to know we will continue to do everything we can for your families. Thank you very much for attending this hearing today. And as you can see, some of them are holding pictures of their adopted children. These children are barred from leaving the country to join with their parents here, even though the courts have declared these parents as their legal guardians. 900 American cases are caught up in this adoption limbo, and that breaks a lot of hearts here in the United States, and it breaks a lot of hearts of children in Congo. I witnessed firsthand the power of providing a child with a loving home when my Chief of Staff, Amy Porter, who's here with us, adopted internationally, and these children must be allowed to make their way to homes that desperately want to care for these children. Congressional approval of this resolution, of course, will send a strong message to Kinshasa that we need to unite these families. I now recognize the ranking member for his remarks on the en bloc items. Mr. Engel.
And finally, Mr. Chairman, we're taking up HRS 588, a resolution introduced by Representative Peterson on adoptions from the Democratic Republic of Congo. We've seen all these brave parents stand up before. The government of the DRC has stopped issuing exit permits for adopted children, affecting hundreds of children who were set to be taken in by loving families. This is a terribly painful situation that we need to help resolve. This resolution recognizes the importance of ethical and transparent adoptions, and it seeks to raise awareness about the plight of the families currently stuck in limbo over these suspended permits. It encourages dialogue between the governments of the U.S. and DRC to find a path forward on this issue, and I urge my colleagues to support it. So in closing, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to once again thank you for holding this markup and for working with our side of the aisle in a bipartisan manner.
And finally, brief word about the very important, authored by Colin Peterson from Minnesota, on the Democratic Republic of Congo and the parents, some of whom are here. The government took the ill-advised action of cutting off adoptions. Many of those were already well into the process. Colin Peterson has picked up that baton, and he is pushing very hard. This will help. And again, to the families that are here, Congress has your back. We will do everything we can. I've been to DR Congo a number of times, along with Greg Simpkins. They need to listen. A home is awaiting kids who are orphaned. Thank you for your generosity, and I yield back.
Over. And the last group I want to talk to are these wonderful mothers that are here. Thank you. God bless you for your tenacity. I can't even say it right. Tenacity and going and getting your children. That is something that is, it's just neat. It's great. It's God's work. I have 11 grandchildren, and my newest one of 4 months old is a special child. They're all special. But she's adopted, and my youngest daughter and her husband adopted a child, and when you get to pick the child, it's neat. So thank you for your work in rescuing children in this humanitarian effort, saving one child at a time. And thank you for your perseverance with Congress. Hopefully we can get, in this case, the Congo to do what is right. And so thank you for that. And Mr. Chairman, I will do something I rarely do. I'll yield back the rest of my time.
I also want to welcome the mothers and thank you for what you're doing, standing up and continuing to fight so hard. Thank you for the chair, and I yield back the balance of my time.
Mr. Salmon.
Thanks a lot, Mr. Chairman. I would like to just make a few comments about H.R. 4640, but before I do, it's hard not to have your heart touched when you see such a wonderful group of mothers here. And I just want to remind you of one of the best sayings I've ever heard, and that is, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. And so you are making a difference. We see a lot of terrible things in this world, but you know, it's good to see great things, and it's good to see great people like you stepping forward. So God bless you.
On House Resolution 588. Since September 2013, hundreds and hundreds of Congolese children and their adoptive American families have been affected by the suspension of exit permits in the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Just yesterday, I got to hear the firsthand and very heartbreaking, heartwarming story of numerous families, including one in the district I represent, that have legally adopted and financially supported their 2 Congolese children, but have been unable to welcome them into their loving home. And I find it fascinating. Maybe the world doesn't know. I mean, the Congolese government's happy to accept the money. And these families have gone through every hoop, and they pay every month, and they don't know the status of their children. Imagine committing yourself to a child, having that child see you and wonder when the child's coming home, and the child, a little baby, doesn't understand and doesn't know why they can't come home with their loving parent, but they can't. The parents here in America, they pay the bill and they wonder what kind of care, what kind of treatment, and they know because they have lived it and they've heard. In many cases, they have lived it themselves, the horrific stories of the children that never do make it while they wait. Well, they were healthy when they started because of the conditions that they reside in, far away from their loving parents. They never get to come home. As a father of 2 beautiful little girls, I can't begin to imagine the uncertainty and the anguish these families go through. And we owe it, we absolutely owe it to these parents and the children to request that the DRC government resume immediately the issuing of exit permits and to encourage and demand the State Department work sincerely and diligently. That's the other thing, Mr. Chairman. I heard stories about families that go to our embassy in the Congo and wait hours and hours and hours. These are Americans meeting other Americans and wait hours and hours for a 10-minute appointment to hear nothing new. It's unacceptable. We demand that the State Department works on these families' behalf and those children's behalf to bring this to a successful resolution and conclusion. With that, I yield back, Mr. Chair.
Or a government that exploits orphan children at the expense of loving families. Fortunately, though, the strongest of the strong in the world is the United States. We are also the most noble and the most just. So I'm proud to stand with my colleagues on this committee. I'm proud to be a part today of the Foreign Affairs Committee to use American power and influence to deliver some small measure of justice to the wicked and to their victims alike.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. It is indeed an honor to serve on this committee. Your leadership and that of Ranking Member Engel is to be applauded. Before I speak on 4411, you know, the tears that I see from many of the moms touch my heart. The prophet Isaiah many, many years ago said that we need to defend the cause of the orphan. So thank you for defending that cause.
Hearing no further requests for recognition, the question occurs on adopting the en bloc items. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. In the opinion of the Chair, the ayes have it. The measure and amendments under consideration en bloc are agreed to. Without objection, each of the 7 measures as amended is ordered favorably reported as a single amendment in the nature of a substitute. Staff is directed to make any technical and conforming changes, and that concludes our business today. The committee is adjourned.